you seen Star Wars?
Another Wednesday, another episode of The Mandalorian season. Oh, wait a minute. I mean, Book of Boba Fett. But today we review Chapter 6, From the Desert Comes a Stranger, and spoiler warning, this episode has a lot of cameos, so watch the episode before you watch today's video. And before we get started, please leave a like on today's video and subscribe for more Star Wars content. Boy, this episode was a roller coaster of feelings. In a 45-minute span, we went through multiple characters and stories that really surprised me. To start off, we simply got to see Cobb Vanth return to deal with spice that the Pikes were bringing to Tatooine. I really loved this character in Chapter 9 of The Mandalorian, so I'm very happy to see his return. After seeing him take Boba's armor and then give it back to Din Djarin, I think it would be really cool to see him, meet Boba Fett for the first time and talk about the armor that they shared, or he technically stole, whatever. But anyways, we knew one day we would see him again, and what works in this episode is that we never really knew when he would appear again. So today's cameo was a very nice reveal, and it was, first thing you saw was very quick and subtle. Cobb and Din reuniting because Boba needs more muscle, and Din thinks Cobb would be great to see an asset to the crew. I really like that. I really liked seeing these two guys back together. He really fulfills the space cowboy style of Star Wars. That is Cobb Vanth, and that was never really more apparent than in today's episode. I loved seeing him talk to Din like an old friend and just wanting to see more of him in future stories. I really think he can be a character who is pretty prominent in like Rangers of the New Republic. At least that is the rumor going around. Right after Cobb Vanth shows up and we're still dealing with his village, Freetown is what they call it now, we get one of the greatest introductions and scariest introductions in Star Wars. Out of the desert walks this figure that just feels evil and intimidating, only to reveal it's none other than the famed bounty hunter Cad Bane. The gun showdown he has with Cobb and the deputy was the stuff of legends in Star Wars, and it really added a lot of tension to the episode. I did see some improvements with Dave Filoni's directing in this episode, because this scene, or most of the scenes out here in Freetown, felt straight out of a spaghetti western, and it seems like he's been doing that since Chapter 5 of The Mandalorian. Also, Cad Bane looked crazy scary. I mean, far scarier than I thought he would after seeing him in Clone Wars and in Bad Batch. The guy must be so old at this point, but it's very cool to see him around, still doing his usual business of bounty hunting. But we all know the big reveals for this episode, and that was Din Djarin going to see Luke and Grogu on the planet that they're training on, and I can't remember the name of the planet. I don't think it's Takadana or whatever it's called, the Maz Kanata Castle place. But there, Din wants to give Grogu his gift that he got from the armor that she made, and he ends up meeting Ahsoka Tano, which is a very surprising cameo in this. She was one of the last characters I expected to see, but I loved seeing her back so soon because it covered up a lot of those loose ends that we've been talking about for a while. For the first time in history, we get to see her and Luke talk to each other, and at this point, they've met and known each other for a little bit, it seems. And looking at this dynamic with these two, it's very fitting that these two characters meet, considering that Luke was made by the maker of Star Wars, George Lucas, and then Dave Filoni worked with George to create Ahsoka Tano, and a lot of people look at Dave as the successor of George Lucas in terms of storytelling in the future of Star Wars. So seeing these two together is very symbolic, and it represents two different generations of Star Wars, different generations of Jedi, and definitely different generations of storytellers. So she added a very unique approach to dealing with the relationship with Grogu and Din Djarin, and really questions Din if he wants to see Grogu for his own selfish reasons. Is it really that he wants to see Grogu, or that he needs to see Grogu? Like, what is the reason for this? And Luke is training Grogu throughout all this time that he's been away, and this was just pure Jedi magic. Watching this montage, we haven't seen training like this since Star Wars Rebels, so seeing Grogu learn more about becoming a Jedi from Luke, it really made my heart melt. I mean, it was just absolutely adorable, and seeing Luke walk him with them whenever they were walking around the forest and everything, and him using the force to make Grogu walk and jump, that's really good. But Luke also looked really good in this as well. He didn't look as noticeably CGI as it was in the last episode that he was in, the ending of Season 2 for The Mandalorian. Also, side note, I do want to point out, the scoop that we had on Luke being in Book of Boba Fett did come true, so shout out to the Tatooine show where we broke the news. New episode is coming out tonight where we will talk about today's episode, by the way, but I was surprised by the lack of Boba Fett in an episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Did you know he had no lines in this? Like, he did not say a single line. He only looked at people, which is fine, but it's just funny that 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett have had no dialogue from Boba Fett himself. I put on my Twitter account today that this is the Book of Boba's friends, because he literally doesn't say a single line in today's episode. I'm not complaining at all about today's episode. I really loved it, and it's everything that it did was Star Wars to me, and it really feels great in the Mandoverse. It really feels connecting the Mandoverse, but it didn't feel like a Book of Boba Fett episode. These past 2 episodes are really about the Mandoverse at large. But going back to this episode, one of the unique aspects was seeing Luke add to Grogu's past. He gives us a look into Grogu surviving Order 66 and these 3 Jedi who are defending him. Only thing is that we don't know what the clones did with Grogu and how he winded up in the possession of that gang many years later that Din Djarin saved him from the bounty. So there's still some story gaps to fill there, but this episode added a lot more to the timeline, and Luke gives Grogu the gift from Din, which is chainmail armor that the armor made, and from Beskar armor as well, the staff that he had. He then reveals Yoda's lightsaber, which I almost screamed at. I thought he lost this in the Sidious duel in Revenge of the Sith, but apparently either Luke found it or Yoda had it all this time, and I loved seeing the little green lightsaber on the screen again. But the problem is, Luke gives Grogu an ultimatum. Pick the lightsaber and train in the ways of the Jedi, or take the armor and go back to the Mandalorian and forsake the Jedi way. And we don't know what Grogu picks, and I don't think we will until maybe Season 3 of The Mandalorian. This is a really big choice, and I think it's important to let the audience sit on that choice for a while and think about his options. Because both of these have really significant impacts on his future. If Grogu goes towards the path of the Jedi, as Luke said, he would be the first student at a new academy. But unfortunately, since the sequels did happen, we know the new Jedi Order is killed by Kylo Ren whenever he turns fully towards the dark side. So it's kind of scary if Grogu picks the Jedi because we don't know if he survived that or if he died in it. But if he was never at the temple whenever it was being destroyed or never completed his training, then we really don't know how Grogu's story plays out in the future. That's what makes this choice so unique, because either way, there's nothing but uncertainty about Grogu's future. He can go to Din and be reunited with him, but Din has to go clearly back to Mandalore and go into the mines or something like that at the very bottom to get redemption. Do you really want to bring the kid with that? I mean, that seems really dangerous, even with his new chainmail armor. I don't know how much justice that's going to do him. He's going to be a baby for probably Din's entire life. So it's a very, very unique situation. This was another great episode of Star Wars content. Start to finish, I was enjoying this, and it felt like watching the Clone Wars as a kid again, but this time a little bit better. Shout out to the co-writer and director of today's episode, Dave Filoni, of course, for giving us his best work yet. I would argue this is really good Star Wars content by him, and you can tell just by watching this episode that it's made by someone with a burning passion for the franchise that's been lifelong. But I will note, his directing style and writing can come off a little bland at times. It's similar to Lucas, you have all these really good ideas, it's the execution that really counts though. And sometimes Dave's methods are still a little bit cartoonish, if you catch my drift, but I'm sure I'm just nitpicking at this point. I'm not trying to give any harp towards Dave Filoni. I give today's episode a 9 out of 10. I mean, it was a great episode that deserves plenty of rewatches and analysis, but tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you think about today's Book of Boba Fett episode? We only have one more to go, and it comes out next Wednesday, so it's kind of crazy to think that past 2 episodes, Boba hasn't said a thing. What's going to happen in this 8th one where they have a crew that they can fight back with now? It's going to be pretty interesting to see what they can pull off on this next week's episode, but we can only find out next week. Tune in tonight on Chatooine and subscribe to the Chatooine YouTube channel where we will discuss today's Book of Boba Fett episode. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like to support my channel and subscribe to stay up to date on the latest news in Star Wars. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. We're almost at 200 subs on Chatooine, so please click the link in the description below and subscribe to the Chatooine channel. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.